This is a very hefty article that we're going to be covering today, and Jon Favreau has a lot of things to say about Star Wars and The Mandalorian, and we're going to be getting into all of that in this video, and it's a complicated issue dealing with what Jon Favreau's talking about, but let's go ahead and try to break this down in this video. So, Jon Favreau on Star Wars and The Mandalorian. Through stories, we express our values to the next generation. Iron Man director and the creator of Star Wars and Disney's upcoming Disney Plus show, The Mandalorian, Jon Favreau recently discussed the responsibility Star Wars has. Now, already red flags might be raising for you, as they were for me, because usually when people in Hollywood start talking about responsibility, what they really mean is indoctrination of the culture. While speaking at Vanity Fair's New Establishment Summit, Favreau talked with his about his conversations with George Lucas alongside Disney CEO Bob Iger. He was asked by Vanity Fair's editor Radhika Jones about the pressure of stepping into the world of Star Wars. Favreau responded, "I don't feel the pressure except to the audience that's seeing what I'm making, and I feel that pressure every time. And I think much like the chefs I learned from when I was training to play that role," that's for his movie Chef, which is actually an amazing movie. I'm a big fan of Jon Favreau. Let me just make that clear before we move forward. I actually am a big fan of his movies. I like his directing especially. So just letting you know. There's a certain stripe of personality that are attracted to telling stories, which is you want to do something, but the experience isn't complete until the people that eat the meal, watch the show, watch the movie, reacts to it. And that's totally 100% true. I completely relate with what he's saying right there. Anyway, he elaborates, and there's something that happens that I really get excited about, by which is people coming together to enjoy something together, especially if it's a collective experience of enjoying a story, a myth, a lesson, or sharing a common experience that everybody enjoys. In the case of Star Wars, I grew up with that. I don't think I would have been a filmmaker had it not been for that film. I definitely wouldn't be a Kurosawa fan or a Western fan if George Lucas hadn't opened the door. I wouldn't understand Joseph Campbell if it wasn't for the power of myth at the Skywalker Ranch. He then added, so understanding that stories for the generation that's coming of age can open doors to people and help guide the values of our culture if stories are told well. So to me, that's the part that I feel. Okay, Favreau would reveal his conversations with George Lucas. He detailed that Lucas believed films could teach generations of people and specifically noted that Hollywood Westerns did so. Now, I think there's a little bit of confusion here between what Favreau thinks George Lucas means by teaching and what Favreau is talking about, but let's go ahead and see what he's saying here. That there are life lessons that are in these stories that carry on the tradition, and speaking to George Lucas, he felt that the Western was the genre that helped teach a generation of people coming of age about the value system that are espoused by that genre, and that Star Wars, part of that responsibility is remember that part of your audience is a whole generation that's coming of age, and through stories we express our values to the next generation. And so one of the things he said was not to lose sight that this is the main audience for stories. Basically, it seems like he's talking about, kids. Like, movies like Star Wars, especially movies like Star Wars, are super impactful on children. They just are. I mean, movies in general can be very impactful on children, but especially movies that are like Star Wars and Frozen, and these types of movies are aimed to impacting kids. So, The Lion King director continued, "It's great for us who grew up with this and feel nostalgic, but really you're trying to teach life lessons through the themes and the conflicts that arise through these characters." Now, I think there might be a little bit of disconnect here, and I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong, but reading into what Jon Favreau is saying, I think, he is someone from Hollywood. I have a feeling that he's probably talking more from a political type of mindset. Whereas George Lucas, I think, was talking more from a moral type of mindset. And this is really one of the big problems that's happening in Hollywood nowadays, where a lot of these filmmakers, directors, influencers want to want to impress their political beliefs on the people that are watching their movies. They aren't as interested in the more moral side of things as they are in the political side of things. And honestly, we've gotten to the point in our culture, especially with people like Hollywood, the mainstream media, SJWs, where they think politics are morality. And that is absolutely not the case at all. For me, how I explain myself politically to people when people ask about my political beliefs and stuff, I usually say, politically, I'm a libertarian, but morally, I'm a conservative. That's kind of how I explain myself, because they're two different types of things altogether. And I feel like a lot of people in Hollywood like to say that politics are the new type of morality, and I think that that's kind of what Jon Favreau is talking about here. I could be completely wrong, because I really don't know that much about Jon Favreau and what he's obviously thinking and stuff. But just seeing that he is, pretty well steeped in the Hollywood mindset and in the Hollywood culture, I kind of have a feeling that he's probably talking more from a political standpoint when he's talking about, influencing kids and stuff, or influencing people that are coming of age and all that type of stuff. Whereas George Lucas, he really didn't have any of that political type of stuff in his Star Wars movies. It was more from a moral standpoint, which is how movies used to be made. So there's that disconnect there that I think might be happening here. I could be wrong, but that's just kind of how I'm reading into it. To say this is a shocking revelation would be a lie. The idea that Hollywood elites and executives want to try and dictate the values they believe people watching their movies should embrace has become abundantly clear in recent years. And I wouldn't even say that they're trying to dictate the values necessarily. They're trying to dictate their politics, which in turn, I guess to them means people's values, because to people like Hollywood, they kind of go hand in hand. And honestly, their values come from a political type of mindset. It's not about the story anymore. It's about preaching to their audience, which is 100% true. Whereas I think George Lucas, when he first made Star Wars, he wanted to put the story first. And from there, you would... there's so much you can explore from a moral standpoint when you put story first. And yes, it's a lot more subtle, it's a lot more nuanced, but that's how it should be. The audience should never feel like they're being preached at. And this is a problem that I have, not just with Hollywood now, but this is something that I've been having a problem with for years now, dealing with Christian films as well. I am a Christian, so I've watched quite a few Christian films, especially when I was kind of in the Christian film making industry. I had a big problem with a lot of the Christian films that were being made because they were so preachy. They were just trying to preach to their audiences, and that's not how storytelling should be conducted. So I kind of already understand exactly what he's talking about here from that type of perspective. So you can just look at the most recent Star Wars films to see that this is more than likely part of Disney's culture, 100%. Solo, a Star Wars story writer, Jon Kasdan, retconned Lando Calrissian and made him pansexual, and highly insinuated in the film that he was engaged in a relationship with the droid, which was extremely uncomfortable to watch in that movie. I was just kind of like, okay, this is super weird. Kasdan stated, "There's a fluidity to Donald and Billy D's portrayal of Lando's sexuality. I would have loved to have gotten a more explicitly LGBT character into this movie. I think it's time, certainly, for that, and I love the fluidity, sort of the spectrum of sexuality that Donald appears to and that droids are a part of. He doesn't make any hard and fast rules. I think it's fun. I don't know where it will go," which, it's a shame. It's a shame that these people want to focus on things like this when it comes to their characters, which is not the way it should be. It's not the way it should be. He would then double down on Twitter and fully admit he was injecting identity politics into Star Wars. "Sorry to have brought identity, gender politics into..." Nope, not sorry at all, because I think the galaxy George gave birth to in 77 is big enough for everyone. Straight, gay, black, white, brown, Twi'lek, Sullustan, Wookiee, droid, and anything in between. Droids writes, "We are sentient." Which is just cringe. I mean, nobody was arguing that, you know, like, I know so many people that love Star Wars that are all of these things: straight, gay, black, white, brown. I know so many people from all of those types of viewpoints that love George Lucas's original Star Wars. And guess what? Those movies didn't focus on identity politics, but people still love them, and people were still inspired by them. People from all sorts of different ethnicities and genders and all that type of stuff love Luke Skywalker because they can relate to him because of his character and his hero's journey, not because he is a straight white dude. It's just so ridiculous, man. Oh, man. Anyway, so yeah, we know that this is the problem. We know that this is a problem in Hollywood, where they want to make politics, their political ideologies and viewpoints, the new morals in their movies, which is just ridiculous on so many levels. But I hope that Jon Favreau doesn't mean that when he's talking about these things, that when he's talking about what George Lucas is saying. I hope that he is talking about it from a moral standpoint and not a political standpoint. But just seeing how far we've strayed from that in Hollywood, I don't really have high hopes about it. But anyway, I do want to hear what you think about it in the comments below. Let me know what you think about what Jon Favreau is saying here. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what you think, and I will talk to you all very soon in another video. Talk to you later. Bye.
Hey everyone, it's Jeremy from geeksandgamers.com, and if you're a fan of Geeks and Gamers, please go to our website, visit our merchandise store. We have t-shirts, hoodies, hats, beanies, tank tops, and in the very near future, we're going to have many more products for you to choose from. So thank you for the support. We appreciate it. You guys have a great day, and we will talk to you later.